Welcome back to the Remnant Podcast. I am Luis, your summer goofball, a.k.a. Luis Olvera. And again, this is
Danny, a.k.a. Danny O.
All right. Well, I think this is what, episode 3 now?
Episode 3, yeah.
We're progressing.
Yes.
We're getting there. Something's being built.
We got a cornerstone now.
There you go.
Which is great.
Speaking of which, what's today's topic? What are we talking about today?
So today's topic is a very interesting topic.
I mean, they're all interesting, aren't they?
Well, I mean, we wouldn't have a show if they weren't interesting. But it's, I know, I'm sorry, guys. It's the general, very cheesy cliche that's a very interesting topic. But today we're talking about glory chasers, a.k.a. people that just to seek the fame.
Seek the fame. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, as you know, we have a lot of pastors that are actually become celebrity pastors. They've gotten this big platform, not only at their church, but worldwide through, social media, the internet, what have you. And they're very great communicators, right?
Right.
But what a lot of people don't understand is that as pastors, as leaders of a congregation, there's a lot of stuff that happens back doors that people don't know that they have to actually deal with.
Well, like what?
Well, for example, here at the church, I'm the armor bearer to one of our pastors, and through that, I've been very privileged to see a lot of the stuff that happens back doors. So,
all right, before you continue, now here's the thing: I grew up in, I'm going to say, a traditional Hispanic Pentecostal church.
Okay,
I'd never heard of armor bearer until I think I started coming to this church. Even in the church I was at before, I still had never heard the word armor bearer. What is an armor bearer?
So that makes two of us, right? When I first came over to City Reach, I wasn't an armor bearer. I didn't even know what an armor bearer was. And then my pastor, when he approached me, he said, pray about it. And, I accepted the role to come under his wing and be his armor bearer. So an armor bearer, according to Old Testament, was the person that carried the armor for the warrior. So as it was, King Saul, he had his armor bearer, and anytime they would go to war or they were going somewhere that they didn't know, exploring different areas, King Saul wouldn't wear his armor all the times. He would have the person carrying it for him. So it's very symbolic when you have an armor bearer within the church, because now you know that this person is always there for the pastor, making sure that he's taken care of, and not only in the physical sense, but in the spiritual sense as well.
All right. So are you active during or, behind the scenes of a service, or after a service, or between services?
It's in between, during, after, before. It's anytime, anywhere. I would want to say 24/7, but thank God he hasn't called me in the middle of the night. But if he did, I would,
Yes, sir.
call.
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Exactly.
No, I was already praying. It's fine.
But I mean, so it's been a very privileged position. I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot because of it. It's a very humbling position. And again, it gives me a deeper, more rooted understanding of what it means to be a pastor at a church, or what it means to take care of the congregation.
All right. As we're talking about, celebrity pastors, armor bearers, things like that. Do you feel, how could I word this correctly? As far as you saying glory seekers, are we just talking about people looking for a title to be recognized up in the altar, or are we also talking about publicity, and fame?
We're talking about publicity, fame, titles, a place on the pulpit, given the chance to preach. When yes, granted, some people might have an understanding of what the Bible speaks of and how to translate and communicate to the crowds, but do you really have a heart for the congregation? Like, as an evangelist, you have a heart of an evangelist, which means you're going out to different territories, different lands to preach the gospel. So your heart is for those that are lost.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, does the Bible show a couple of glory seekers?
Actually, there was one specific one in the New Testament, is Simon the Soothsayer. So Simon the Soothsayer has seen the apostles come into town, and he's seen that the apostles were casting out demons in Jesus' name. He's seen people healed when they were being prayed for. So he was actually offering the apostles money to receive those powers.
Mm.
And it wasn't so much so he could help the people, as he wanted to heal people and charge them.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Healing. $5. $5. Okay.
But yeah, so we do have examples of glory seekers in the Bible. That was one of them. But also we have Bible verses that show us to seek God's glory, not so much the glory of man. John 5:44. How can you believe when you receive glory from one another and do not seek the glory that comes from the only God? And then you go into where, what happens what happens to our spiritual ability to know Christ if we chase the praise of man?
Mm.
See, so we are no longer chasing God's glory, but we're chasing the praise of man. So we receive the glory, not God.
So I will say on personal experience, I think back in my high school days, I will say that. Oh yeah, I play keyboard. I do this. I do that. I will shamefully admit that I did fall in a bit into that crowd. Where, oh yeah, I could do this or I could do that. And I think growing up, even in my 20s, which I think even, despite age, I think we've all been fallen into the situation where you just want to post on your social media, whatever it could be, of, oh, I do this, I do that, blah, blah, blah. Okay. For what point? Oh, here's a like. I'm validated. Oh, I did a good job. I must have done a good job. Now I'm like, oh, I did this. Hey, Yvonne, I did this.
And that's about it. And when you tell me those stories, I'm like, oh man, you did that. You're like, yeah. I'm like, but you did that. Yeah.
No, okay. So I will say back in the day, as I was starting off, in audio, doing corporate audio. For those that don't know, that's what I do for a living. I do corporate audio for big events or small events. Doesn't matter. As long as the check clears, I think at this point.
That's all that matters.
But back in the day, I was that glory seeker in that sense, where, oh yeah, did you hear? I got to do a show. Sylvester Stallone was the guest of honor, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Hillary Clinton, blah, blah, blah. Oh, hold on. I'm trying to remember what other famous people have been through. Tom Green. Who else?
Really, Tom Green?
Yeah. Then I've also been in smaller meetings where one was really trippy. A couple are trippy. I've been in meetings with the guy that shot Osama bin Laden. Who else? The pilot of Air Force One when 9/11 happened. And the guy who made the call, I really got to remember. I should have paid attention to names. The guy who made the call to land every single plane in the U.S. when 9/11 happened.
Wow.
But back in the day, I was like, oh, I have to have that. I will shamefully also admit that at least a few times, I'm going to say a few times, and I'm going to say a handful of times, I want to say, like, I try to make myself better than the next person and this and that. And I look back at it and I'm like, why? We all got paid the same. It didn't matter. It really didn't matter. Because I could say with a pain in my heart, I messed up the Hillary one back in the day. This is way before she ran for office. There was a situation with microphones. We had to hand her another one.
Like,
she gave
Hillary's campaign?
No. This is way before she ran for office. Something happened. Something technical happened with the microphone. It started failing. we had to hand her another microphone. My coworker said, I don't ever want you to put me in that situation again. I'm like, what happened? She gave me this stink eye, this nasty stink eye, because she was upset. Of course, understandably, she's out here giving, I can't remember what the speech was about. I think it's some charity or something.
Bro, I think that's the only look she has, though. Seriously.
I don't know. But anyways, like that was me. Like, oh yeah, did you hear I did this show? Oh, did you hear I did this show? Oh, yeah, I used this system. Oh yeah, I know how to do this. And I'll come in like, all right, let's hurry up. Let's set up. We can go home quicker. But I'm hungry. Let's go to lunch.
It goes back to show that we, especially us as men, we seek that validation. And whether it be from man, or somebody else, we always miss that checkpoint. We always miss that goal that the only validation we need is from God. You know what I mean?
It's as time is progressing, I'm finding that to be truer and truer. I also feel like I used to be like, oh, you do that? Oh, okay. Oh, you wash what? Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, so I do, and again, I think, the pandemic or plandemic, however you want to take it. Plandemic.
Plan.
All right. However you want to take it. I do know that it shook my thought process to the core. Humility, this and that. Cause, from one day having the next 4 months planned out and picked out, and you're like, ooh, I'm going to make this much money too. Sorry. Whole world shutting down.
Dude, talking about humility, in my position, I was served a huge piece of humble pie real quick. I mean, granted, I was only a few months in, and I was still learning the role, still adapting and adjusting to being a man that serves God. And we had a guest come in, and he had his own entourage. So the agreement was already taken up. Mind you, our senior pastor and our associate pastor both go up there. And I'm like, my pastor's up there. I'm going to go up there too. So I knock on the door and the answer is, yeah, can we help you? Oh, yeah, my pastor's there. And well, I mean, what else can you say? Like, and I tried pulling the armor bearer card, but it's like, and I was like, dang. So it's basically like,
I'm sure I've gone through that before with something else.
But the interesting part is that I learned really quick that it's a very humbling role where, yes, you have access to things, but at the end of the day, we're all nobody, but it's like you're nobody without your pastor. Like you're both a package deal. Either you both go somewhere or you don't go anywhere.
I know growing up, again, because I was always in music and of course, as one of the church musicians, sometimes I feel like I got a pass or something, or at least sometimes the church musicians were recognized the most misbehaved or something like that. Whatever. I know I've had my ego trips. As doing audio for musicians, I've had to deal with ego trips, especially in, let's say I used to do a church that had 4 services and still dealing with the same MD, most of those services, but then dealing with different musicians every other time. And,
right.
And it's not just can you, this drummer wants this mix and this other drummer wants less of a mix from whatever. It's that, but then it's also, why don't you pay attention to me? Hey, hello, hold on, me first, hold on. No, the bass player can...
Wait, let's take it back a little bit. So you said as you MD'd, what, for our audience out there that might not know, what's an MD?
Okay, so now at where I'm at now here at City Reach, I'm a music director, and before I used to understand what a music director is. Now that I am one of them, I know a little differently now. So let's put it like this. and the entire band that you see up on stage is, at least with us, there's the worship pastor, and I fall under his direction. Obviously, he's the one planning practices, scheduling, and all that stuff, and of course, leading us all in prayer and everything else, behind the scenes and the days of. I am more active on the days of, so I help him if he's trying to convey an idea to the musicians while we're live, like, hey, slow it down, or just drums, or just this solo here. I'm the one helping him convey. I have a microphone stuck in my face and this and that, blah, 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 blah. Cool. I'm directing. Now I've also got into, I'm coming up with service intros.
I love them. Dude.
Okay, so
dude, I gotta say before we continue, the marching intro you guys did.
Oh, the one last week.
Yes, that was like I'm pumped up, fired up, ready to start praying and casting out demons because you know what?
Yeah, I heard
we're going into war.
Yeah, someone's like,
I was like,
I know. Someone's like, oh yeah, it just felt like we were going to war. Like, yeah, it was just ready, and I'm like, okay, good. That was kind of what I was planning. Thank the Lord that came. Dude, that came to fruition.
Was amazing.
It's to me, again, growing up. Ahora vamos a orar para comenzar el servicio. Padre nuestro, again. Okay, you're blessing the service, making sure that
right.
You're praying a blessing over the service, making sure that everybody's being directed by the Lord and not by themselves. Cool. But now, I think right now, since our church is going through revival, it's a celebration that, yes, we are going to celebrate, and we are all going into this to make sure we do battle. And it's so fun. So I started coming up with an idea. I'm like, well, why don't we play something to pump up the prayer? So it's like, we're all just like, so I've been coming up with ideas here and there and blah, blah, blah.
Love it, dude.
Okay. But again, in the beginning, I didn't want to do it because I'm like, I've never done this. Like, why me? Now it's like, oh, okay. Then as I'm going to say the months progress, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm helping out. Like, oh, it's in G. All right. Now we're going to D. Now, whatever.
Right.
But I still didn't understand my role. I was just like, oh, whatever. And people ask me, well, what's MD? Oh, I don't know, man. I'm just a Mexican guiding the other guys. Until I talked to a pastor I hadn't seen in a long time.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, but I'm just an MD, just this. He's like, no, mijo. No. You are in charge of helping dictate the path of the service with what you're hearing, what you're envisioning, or how you're helping your worship pastor. And I'm like, oh, okay, Jesus, I get it now. All right, then. I'm sorry.
Se le prendió el foco.
No. I was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't know if I took it for granted, but like I surely didn't understand the full impact of what I'm doing. So now, I'm like, okay, Jesus, guide me. Make sure I make the best of calls that I can. We do rehearse and this and that, but as you're going into it, all of a sudden the singer decides, they're going to freestyle something. They're going to come up with something. So that, they'll give me signs, signals, whatever. I relay that. And I just try to make sure that I convey it as best as possible. If I have an idea during sound check, okay, hey, how about this? How about this? How about,
Right.
Now I'm understanding it more. And I think the maturity of age and the position in where I'm at, having my wife tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'm learning more, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if I would have been in this same position 10 years ago that I would have been, oh, I could do it better than he can, or I whatever. Now I'm like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Of course, sir.
That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Would you or would you not?
I again, 10 years ago, I don't know if I would have been like that. Now, because of work and everything else, it's yes, sir. Okay, sir. Of course, sir. And then we can go eat tacos afterwards. But in the moment of, you be humble. Yes, sir. No, sir. If you don't like what's going on, you may or may not convey your opinion, but always in a respectful manner, knowing that you are under the servant of God.
Right.
God has appointed that person through, senior pastor or board or staff or whatever. So you fall under their jurisdiction. Yes, sir. No, sir. Okay, sir. Well, sir, I think of this. Okay, cool. You had a disagreement. You solve it very peacefully. I am nothing and no one. I am here to serve the Lord. That's it. I don't look for titles anymore. I get the privilege to be a bass player. I get the privilege to be an MD. I get the privilege to come here and worship.
I saw that on Sunday. Your little bass solo.
Oh, that was fun.
It was fun. I was like, whoa, hello. But
I got a little look and I was like, oh, I can do it. All right.
But see, that's, again, it goes back to you're chasing God's glory. You're not chasing the praise of man. And getting back to the topic about a glory chaser, those people are attracted to the praise of man. And they just see people on the pulpit. They see people on the platform receiving these praises from man, but they don't understand the heart of the person that's there. That the heart of the person is just seeking God's glory.
Do you think that's what's happened to pastors in recent years? The big explosions that have been on the news. Oh, this person stepped down from this church and this person had an affair and this. You think that's where it all went wrong?
As much as I want to say most definitely, I won't, because I wasn't there.
Okay, fair enough.
But the temptation of seeking man's praise is there, because now you have people coming in and serving you left and right. They're wanting to be next to you, wanting to uplift you because you have the spotlight on you.
Right. And though like I said, I think we are all at fault for, every once in a while, like wanting a praise or a quick pat on the back or anything like that. Every once in a while, you kind of need it. If it's from a spouse or a friend or everything else. But I guess, yeah, you're right. If you're chasing it, you're constantly, it's where you feel like now that's part of your foundation, then yeah.
For example, have you listened to, or have you had a chance to hear about the podcast it's called The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill?
The Rise and Fall of what?
Mars Hill.
Mars
Hill. It was a church up in Seattle. The senior pastor was Mark Driscoll.
Rise and Fall of Mars Hill. Okay.
It's an interesting docuseries done on the audio form, because the guy just dissects like how the pastor was running the congregation and what he expected from his staff members, and there being a shift from him, wanting people saved to just growing the church at whatever cost.
I've been there. I don't think I need to look at a docuseries. I've seen it, and you know what? Yeah, you're right. It sucks. It sucks because I've seen something like that, and then people just falling to the wayside. And now I know some of those people that used to go there. They're either jaded from the gospel, or they started their own church because of it. I mean, I have seen churches grow and do better. Those little churches have started off, but
right.
Not without its growing pain that needn't be there as their seed, because they're hurt of, from what happened previously or what they saw. And again, those that are jaded, la bola de cristianos son igual. They're all the same,
I mean, I'm laughing because the funny voice now. I'm laughing at the situation. I'm not laughing at people that are jaded for our audience out there. But so it's a very interesting docuseries. It caught my attention, and I took a listen to it. Now I'm like 6 episodes in, and it just gets deeper and deeper. And they mention other pastors in there, and I'm just like, wow. And that's where it came to me. I'm like, at what point did they no longer seek God's face, seek God's glory?
But do you feel that that's brought on because of the modern age of social media? I know it's happened before, like even back in the day, VHS days, but I feel like it's more prominent now.
Well, the interesting part that Mark Driscoll was one of the first churches his church was one of the first ones to put his sermons on MP4 or MP3, actually. I should
MP3.
say. MP3. And so he got ahead of the curve on that because of the engineer he had on his team. And so that, what these people are saying, inflated his ego. My opinion, my point of view is, if you don't have somebody along your side that can hold you accountable, whether it be a brother that you're very close to that knows everything in your life, or a mentor or spiritual father that you confide in, it can be a slippery slope, because all those platforms, all that limelight, and the fact that you've been given this gift from God to be able to communicate the gospel so clearly can allow you to fall into that temptation of inflating your ego. Feeling like you need to praise a man, feeling like you're untouchable.
I feel the untouchable thing has unfortunately descended upon some of the more famed pastors. And again, we won't knock if you have some kind of fame or notoriety.
We're not saying all popular or famous pastors. We're just saying what we've seen in the recent news or what we've seen in the past. It kind of has a pattern to it.
Right. But
the most important thing we could do is definitely pray for those people that have been hurt. And I thank God that we are a church that takes those people that are hurt, help them to heal, whether they stay here or move on. That's their choice. But, I know I came from a position where I had church hurt, me and my wife. And through this ministry, we were healed, and we are where we're at today because of that.
Anything else that the word can tell us about this or help us out and to make sure that we don't walk into this position?
Well, when Jesus was talking in John 5:44, he says, when he says, what does this have to do with the belief of Christ? Let me backtrack it so we can read it completely. How can you believe when you receive glory from one another and do not seek the glory that comes from the only God? Basically, he's saying that this type of belief changes the way you live. The glory of man is no longer important. God is the center, God is the purpose, and God is reason. Christ comes in everything, from everything. And this belief declares war on the flesh. It declares war on the pride of life. And it declares war on the lust of the eyes. It keeps you aligned with God's word. It keeps you aligned with your purpose to make sure, I can't see the glory of man and God's glory at the same time. It's one or the other.
I'm trying to follow that up with something intelligent, and I can't think of anything. I probably should have had a Red Bull as well. No, I'm sorry. I'm also trying to think of where else have I misstepped in those moments?
Bro, if we start doing that, we're going to have a 2.5 hour podcast just on this episode alone.
No, I just feel in recent years, my biggest faults in the ego were, again, name chasing or whatever. Oh, I did this, I did that. But in audio, not in anything else in my life. I don't think. Well, for the many years that I wasn't going to church, that was probably the only thing.
That's probably the only thing that kept you going.
Yes.
Yeah. That happens.
Well, for today, again, we've touched on a couple different things. Hopefully, if you're going through this or if you've gone through this, you can probably relate to what we're talking about. If ever you need help, and please reach out to us. And again, if we can't help you personally, we will find someone that can. Please comment on our videos, drop us some likes, some subscriptions, hit us up on any of our social medias just to say hi or give us words of encouragement, compliments or complaints.
And down below, we'll have our emails in the church website in case you guys want to check that out too.
So again, thank you for joining us for this semi-short episode of the Remnant Podcast.